Hello and welcome to the platform. In today's episode, we are joined by seasoned broadcaster and media professional with over 2 decades of experience in television and the radio industry. And right now, he is a respected producer and television presenter at the South African Broadcasting Corporation, known to us as the SABC. He definitely has made a name for himself and carries a reputation of excellence in storytelling, interviewing, and his on-screen presence. We meet Simphiwe Ncongwane alongside participants who are well aligned with the industry of media and of course television. Let's meet them and start the conversation.
Hello, my name is Tabiso Kabonalangwenya and I'm from Hlutila Vomisa.
Hello, my name is Sifiso Ncongwane. I am from the charming town of Nhlangano, the southern part of Eswatini. Yeah, and where I'm from shapes the stories that I tell, and I say that with conviction and pride.
Hi, my name's Abongile Mabuza and I am from Mbaban, born, bred and still living there.
Hello, my name is Lindoguhle Madlopa. I am residing in Babane, but my roots are in Lozita. That is where I call home.
All right, I am in broadcasting and media, anchoring conversations that matter, and it's a job that I really enjoy. I do other things on the side, but I suppose this one will do for now.
I'm currently a sport journalist at EBIS, Eswatini Broadcasting and Information Service.
I am in TV. I work as a presenter and also do some desk jockey work for my television station.
The career I am currently in, I am working at the Times of Eswatini, whereby I present morning headlines daily. I also contribute in writing articles for our health and cooking section. I also have a background in sports journalism, and I have recently expanded into commercial video production, or maybe commercial video presenting, whereby we work closely with local businesses or local companies, whereby we creatively tell their stories through visual media.
I think I'm a storyteller at heart and I want to believe that there are stories to be told.
I chose this career path because where I'm from has shaped the way that I view the world and the stories that I tell. And from a small town of Nhlangano, we are a very curious little cocoon, and so we always wonder what people are up to in Babane and Manzini, and therefore I've always been curious, and it's not a mistake that I'm in a position where I ask questions and I feed my curiosity.
I chose this career path because I have always wanted to be a journalist. You know, there is something super exciting about you having access to news first before everybody else, you know, being in the spotlight. I've always been drawn into the world of journalism, and it brings so much energy, so much inspiration, and also the responsibilities that comes with you telling real stories, being the voice for those who are voiceless, and actually bringing a positive light into places that have been so silent for too long, and also just to share stories that deserve to be heard in the community and also the society at large.
Well, I chose it not really of my own volition. I think a decorated journalist took a chance on me and it worked out, so everything you see is organic.
Why do I deserve to sit on this table with today's mentor would be because I believe that we all have the niche and the love for the game.
I want to meet my mentor because I think every single young person that is up and coming in the industry, or in any industry for that matter, deserves to be in the room with someone who knows better, who is more decorated and has experience in order to enhance their career and also just improve themselves as a person. I think it offers a lot of encouragement. So I am here because every single young person deserves to meet their mentors.
Deserve is a big word. I don't think I deserve anything, but I'm always honored to be in positions where I can be fortunate enough to, you know, soak in information that any other person would have loved to be in that position. So I'm just honored and privileged, really.
I think I deserve to be in the same table with today's mentor because I believe I am bringing purpose and precision. I am also committed to learning a lot of things from him, and also to highlight the fact that sitting in the same table with today's mentor is a rare opportunity, which I am really grateful of, and also to just highlight that whatever that he will be sharing directly aligns with my desire to grow and also evolve in the media industry.
I'm hoping that this opportunity will help advance my career and especially help me to become more confident in myself and in the work that I do.
And with that said, hello and welcome to the platform. In today's episode, we're joined by seasoned broadcaster and media professional with a career that spans over 20 years. A very shocking revelation to the people that are seated with me on this table today. But he is joining us alongside 4 participants who are well aligned with what he does. And this individual is, of course, Simphiwe Ncongwane, joining us to share insights on how to make it in the media and television industry, and of course, being a part of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Firstly, I'd just like to welcome all the people here on the table. Thank you so much for making time to join us. And most importantly, our champion for the day, which is what we call them here. Today, you're a champion, you're a mentor, and we are just here to gain knowledge and insight from you. But firstly, welcome to the platform.
Tabelo, thank you very much for inviting me. Gosh, you just made me feel so old. 20 years, you say?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's quite interesting because this year is a full circle moment for me. You know, the first time I was on Swazi TV, well, it was called Swazi TV back then. I presented Swazi Lotto, and 20 years later, here I am back on Eswatini TV on a much bigger platform, you know, where I'll be sharing my experiences, sharing some tips, and then also gaining some insights from some of the professionals here. So it really is a beautiful moment and a heartwarming moment for me to be here.
Thank you so much for that. But firstly, before we begin the show, because it does get a little too serious on this table, but I hope we keep it light and fun. You know, media is all about, you know, just being light and fun. And it's a conversation and we're storytelling at the end of the day. But before we start the conversation, we do have some icebreaker questions and answer them truthfully. Very truthfully.
Okay.
One after the other. Read them out and then just give us a response.
Yeah, I like the emphasis truthfully.
Yes.
All right, there we go. The first question that is posed to me is, if you were not a TV personality, what career path do you think you would have chosen instead? Yo, that's actually a tough question because there's just so many. There's just so many career paths. But definitely one of them is being a teacher. You know, there's nothing as heartwarming as seeing your product flourishing in whatever industry that, whatever career path that they've chosen to take. So being a teacher for me was just one of the almost chosen careers that I would have loved to have taken. What is one fun fact about you that most viewers would be surprised to learn? I'm actually loud. Not so many people know that I'm very, very loud. To a point where even when I'm on air, the way I laugh, even my parents would call me, I'm very, very loud. So that's one fact that I suppose not so many people know about me.
Which is very interesting because most people in TV, you know, when they get the chance, they just want to keep quiet. Like, well, that is me. But now getting into the conversation, you know, we have a list of questions that we've carefully tailored, you know, to align with what we do. And of course, for you to just give insights because we are the voice of the youth that is not represented on this, or that is not at this table rather. You know, we're speaking for the voiceless. That is what we always say. And to just start you off with, you know, you've used your talents to just shape conversation and storytell. What I'd like to ask you rather is that what can young broadcasters like us learn from your approach in creating relevance in this specific field?
You know, I've always believed that broadcasting is not just about being seen and heard. It's about being trusted. You know, when you are being trusted, it creates a sort of a rapport, a relationship with your viewers, with your listeners, with your readers, or any other, you know, or any other people. But when you are trusted, it makes people want to listen to you all the time, want to see you all the time, want to, you know, drink from your cup. So the most important trait in this industry is being trusted.
Beautiful. And like I had already mentioned that I am joined by 4 other participants. They are basically my co-hosts for the show. They'll also be asking their question, and starting off the conversation with them is, of course, Thabiso Langwenya.
Thank you so much, Bella. Good evening, good afternoon. Apologies, good afternoon, Simphiwe. I think, you know, we are in an industry where it's very easy to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Looking at your skill sets as well, having been on radio and being on TV, what does one need to be successful in all platforms?
How I would define success is how your work impacts other people. So whatever you do, don't just do it for yourself. Don't just do it for your employer. Do it for the people that you are projecting your work to. And how that lands on that particular person or a group of people, then it defines your success in this industry. Gutsi mina, I've been impacted by the work that Simphiwe Ncongwane does, or I've been inspired by the work that Simphiwe Ncongwane does. I am who I am today. I am what I am today because I saw Simphiwe doing this and that, and I want to be much better than him. Because here's the thing, I don't want people who get inspired by me to be like me. I want them to be better than me, to be a much bigger and a better version of who I am. Because they can never be me. I can never be them. But they should strive to be better versions of me. So that is what success means to me.
Wow, that's remarkable. First and foremost, let me just say congratulations on a decorated career. 20 years is no small feat.
It's not.
And certainly your work is impacting a lot of us, including ourselves in this very table here. You mentioned your first answer, the most important thing for you is to be trusted. And I suppose that ties in well into my question, which is the idea of mastering your voice as well as your presence, which can, too often be conflated to just reading words on a teleprompter for some of us, which I find insulting for our career, by the way. But I want to ask you, the separator being command, your tone and your presence for you, what is that daily ritual, that daily discipline that you say you do to make sure that when you go on air, you are heard and you are commanding?
Yeah. Well, that's actually a very good question. As we've said, anchoring is not just reading the autocue, the teleprompter, it's about interpreting. My daily role, before I even start my shift, it takes a great deal of reading every single day. And sometimes, if you find the moment, just read out aloud. Not just news, but books, speeches, poetry, that would train your ear to listen to flow and rhythm. But I guess the biggest discipline is mental. I approach every news bulletin not as a messenger. I tell myself that I'm not a messenger, but I deliver words that carry so much weight. Hence, I take my work so seriously because I deliver words that carry so much weight because those words have the ability of inspiring, have the ability of informing, and they also have the ability of alarming because that's the power that the media has.
Right. Fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I think my takeaway from that is I think everyone sort of experienced challenges here, especially when you're coming into the industry. It's so far removed from what your perception is initially. I just want to know what you wish you would have learned at the beginning of your career that would have better helped you navigate your challenges and helped you actually be more confident and much better at what you had done.
Quite interesting that you asked that question because as I was just reflecting on my 20-year career in this industry, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was exerting so much pressure on myself to arrive quickly. There can never be a point where you tell yourself that you've made it, you've arrived, because it is an ongoing process. You can never be there. So my mistake that I made was I exerted so much pressure on myself. I wanted to land the big interviews. I wanted the primetime slots. I wanted the recognition. And forgetting the craft, honing the craft. Because if you focus on, the cosmetic issues or elements of the media broadcasting and forget about the core values of broadcasting, which is the craft, then you're missing the point. So that's what I wish I would have, embraced earlier on. But then I'm embracing it as I'm moving along, as I'm growing in this industry, and I'm learning from so many of my industry colleagues.
Mine is just to appreciate the opportunity to share the same table with someone of your caliber.
Thank you.
And in journalism, we normally say credibility is the currency of journalism. So as someone who works closely with sources, how do you maintain a good relationship with a source and also like maintaining that your reporting remains fair and accurate and also remains uncompromised?
Yeah, I take a point there on credibility because credibility is a muscle that you build before the temptation to be swayed comes in. You know, with regards to sources, in as much as I have a very close and a respectful relationship with my sources, but I do not allow that relationship to dictate the work that I do, to dictate how I should frame a story or whether a story should be published or not, whether a story should be broadcast or not. So I do not allow them to do that. Because in as much as I have a respectful relationship with my sources, but sources provide access to information, to contacts and everything else. But my sources know that in as much as sebenzisana kahle nabo, but I can never protect them. I protect them to some extent, but when it comes to my work or my credibility, then I can never protect them.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Just like today, you know, I've had the opportunity to sit with you as a prominent figure here at this table, and you have also had the opportunity to interview many high-profile individuals, including His Majesty King Mswati III. I'd just like to know how you prepare yourself for high-profile interviews, because nami 20 years. You know, I just want to know if I did the right thing coming here or leading up to this interview, and how do you then maintain confidence and professionalism when you're dealing with those type of settings, because they're not the same, but we don't treat any other interview any less, but they're obviously not the same, you know, when you get Simphiwe Ncongwane coming to your table. Yeah.
You'll be amazed, because I take this platform very seriously.
Yeah.
And I came all the way from SA just for this platform because of the enormity of the impact that this platform has on the viewers, on the audience, and everybody else. So Naomi, 20 years on, I still get the jitters. I still get nervous.
Yeah.
And being nervous, you are ill-prepared or you're under-prepared. It shows the enormity of the task that you're about to undertake. So 20 years on, Naomi, as the TD or as my technical director, screaming in my ear, giving me the countdown, 10 seconds to go, I still get the jitters. So I have one of two questions. Oh my gosh, am I nervous? Should I be doing this? And then the other thing that I tell myself is that this is my responsibility, I have to do it. Yeah. So the most important thing is preparation, because preparation is the antidote of the nerves.
Yeah.
As long as you are prepared, nothing will fail you. Not even the nerves, not even the profile of the person that you are about to interview. So the most important thing, the rule of thumb is preparation.
In a world where traditional media is in constant competition with citizen journalism and other media houses as well, which would be SABC, Newsroom Africa, ENCA as well, how important is it to have a proper hookup line, literally a proper opening line to keep viewers engaged?
You know, every time I start my show or my bulletin, I ask myself two questions. What is the beat of this story? What is the beat of this show? Two, I ask myself, would my viewers or would my listeners stay on for longer than 10 seconds after hearing me speak? So the answer is as good as mine. So the most important thing is getting the viewers hooked, and I'm going to speak about viewers because that's where I'm at mostly. So getting them hooked is to give maybe a very powerful opening line, that is, because you need to be able to play around with words. You need to be creative. Don't be predictable every single day, because if you're not predictable, then people always look forward to whatever stunt that Simphiwe will be pulling tomorrow or in the next edition of whatever show that you're presenting. So the most important thing is have a one-liner, it could be a question. You can even start with a question. Maybe say instead of the finance minister has delivered a budget today, start your show with, say for instance, if you are working, the budget that will be delivered today, how will it impact how you will be earning your salary next month? So that line is thought-provoking. It gets people to think. It's not just a top-down approach from anchor to viewer, but it's a two-way route. It's a two-way lane for you to think about what I'm saying and for me to impart a line that would trigger you to think.
Yeah, that's very remarkable. I like that analogy of it's not just a top-down approach with the viewer. I think Richard Quest calls it ballroom dancing.
Oh, yes.
We're both dancing together. And it's brilliant. I want to ask, I present 3 live shows a day, and I'm too often, tempted to sometimes conflate to surface level delivery, especially when the clock is ticking and it's a high pressure, compressed time moment. I want to ask you, how do you deal with that kind of, moments? I know you did say initially that you do a lot of reading, and so I suppose that also comes through for you, but how do you maintain depth and authenticity in the time is ticking moments?
Authenticity comes in grounding yourself in the moment. And again, I'm going to go back to my point of preparation, because preparation supersedes everything else. Preparation is the bedrock of your career, the bedrock of your job. So I know, I get the jitters even when the countdown, even when the sting, the jingle is rolling and the director is screaming, whatever is screaming in my ear. But I guess authenticity, preparation, it makes you grounded. And then if you are in the moment, being in the moment, it entails being intimate with the story that you're covering. Because once you're intimate with the story, you get relaxed first and foremost, and you get not even casual, but you get confident in terms of delivering that story. So it makes your delivery more natural.
I think we're just all shocked at the enormity of your career, and it's still going. It's so impressive, and I'm sure you've seen the youngins come in these days, our generation. And I think we're a very misunderstood generation, but we do have our issues. So what habits do you think do a disservice to us? And what are some old school principles you think should be maintained in order for us to ensure a successful career?
I'm blessed that I've been groomed by very, I would say, high-profile mentors in the industry, and they've imparted some skill sets that I still embrace and embody even today. One of them is respect. If you respect your craft, then everything else will fall into place. And this does not mean that the current crop of journalists do not embody that element. But what I'm trying to say to the younger generations is that if you respect your craft, most importantly, when it comes to respect, is timekeeping.
Yes.
In a live environment, all the roles are interdependent, because beyond the camera, beyond the makeup, I'm not wearing makeup, by the way. Beyond the lights, beyond the action, beyond the intense excitement, is an ecosystem of a team of producers, researchers, writers, floor managers, cameramen. So all those roles are interdependent. A camera person's job is useless without an anchor. An anchor's role is useless without a sound person, the lights person. So all these jobs are interlinked and interconnected and interdependent on each other. So if when you don't keep time, then it throws off the entire production cycle. So that on its own is being disrespectful to the entire value chain of the production cycle. So the most important thing that the younger generation, the younger crop of reporters and journalists is respect. Respecting people and respecting your craft.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ncongwane, for that. In the media industry, journalists nowadays have this hype and excitement of breaking stories early. So I just want to know, how do you really balance the need for speed with the responsibility to fact check and also making sure that the story doesn't lose credibility?
I always tell myself that it's better to be right than to be first. I know that so many newsrooms the world over, they are under so much pressure, to stand out from other competitors. And I know that the thrill of breaking news or breaking stories first is quite overwhelming. Granted, I get that. But what if the information is wrong? Then that credibility is eroded. And it will take a great deal of time rebuilding that credibility that has been eroded as a result of misinformation, disinformation, and fake news, and wrong information. So the most important thing is, like at the SABC, we have a system of cross-checking and fact-checking all the information, getting the sources, and we don't run a story with only one source. We get at least 2 or 3 sources, and we also fact-check the statements before we go on that story. And it's absolutely okay to not be the first to break that story.
Oh, yes.
It is absolutely okay. We don't have to go with the pressure of wanting to be the first to break that story.
Yes.
It's absolutely okay to being right, yet being the last to break that story.
Yeah.
The power of
Beautiful.
slow journalism.
Beautiful stuff. Thank you so much for that. Right now, we will be taking a short commercial break. When we return, it's more insights, more knowledge, and most importantly, more media. But that is only after the break.
So I'm inspired by a comedian, Dave Chappelle. He's a great storyteller before he is a comedian. But I'm also inspired by Richard Quest. I think that is the proximity that is more immediate to what I do every day. Even more closely, guys like Ayanda Nyati from the SABC, Peter Ndoro, Leanne. Yeah, it's a lot of them, but these people that I've mentioned really inspire me.
I'm inspired by so many young and upcoming journalists who are currently just doing African documentaries.
I am inspired by trailblazers like the CEO of Mbabane Municipal Council, Tsiniwe Fagutse. I love the way she portrays herself. I love her professionalism. I also love the fact that she shows the world about women in leadership.
What I like to do during my spare time is going to the gym. I love the gym because it speaks to the very premise of discipline. No one is going to eat well for me, no one is going to do cardio for me, no one is going to go to the gym for me. So staying healthy is the highest form of self-discipline because I have to remind myself and push myself every day, but also the results that it shows. I feel like I look good, and if you look good, you know what they say, you do good.
So during my spare time, I love to sleep, and I am willing to cut off anyone who interrupts my sleep schedule. I also like to decompress, do a little self-care. I love listening to podcasts and conspiracy podcasts especially. I really love watching series and catching up on my musical playlists. So I think my spare time is purely selfish.
What I love doing during my spare time, I love watching adventure movies. I love trying out new recipes. I like also to just check out on the new trends, especially on YouTube and also TikTok, check on the creatives and stuff like that.
I draw my inspiration from my sense of humor, my parents, and also my faith.
Hello and welcome back to the platform. If you just tuned in today's episode, we are joined by Simphiwe Ncongwane, who is of course a producer and presenter at SABC. I'm sure you know the face, and today he's been sharing so much knowledge and just unpacking what the media industry has to offer, spanning his career over radio and of course television. He has had so much to share before the break, but there's still more that you can give, right? There's still more within you. We're still keeping this fire burning. Earlier on, you spoke about, the idea of teamwork. I know that broadcast is often seen as a solo craft because kuvela nangobhelo lana ngembili, yet behind the scenes, it just thrives on teamwork. From your experience, how are discipline, time management, and professionalism in productions important for productions to run smoothly?
I guess it ties in well with what I told her in terms of discipline, because discipline is very vital especially in a live environment, not just a live environment, even pre-productions. Discipline is absolutely of vital importance because it makes the flow of the production process to be quite seamless. And as I've said, timekeeping is absolutely a non-negotiable. Timekeeping is a non-negotiable, whether pre-recorded, because there's this habit of some journalists, some presenters, some anchors taking advantage of the fact that, it's a pre-recording, even if you start late, it's okay. It's never okay. Lateness is never okay. So discipline is absolutely vital in any production cycle.
Right, thank you so much.
Interesting. I think I'd like us to go back to trust and credibility.
Yes.
And I think in understanding that over the years, journalism, the face of journalism has changed so many times. The introduction of digital media, the introduction of live reporting. For me, it will be the issue of trauma live reporting. Are we ever going to get to a point where we are as journalists, not talking about citizen journalists, but journalists, professional journalists, to get to a point where we are able to balance public interest over human dignity?
Brilliant question, hey? I love that question, because one misconception that people have is that as a news anchor, as a journalist, you don't have feelings. As a news anchor, as a journalist, you need to be serious-faced, stone-faced, stoic. That is a misconception, a long-held misconception that we have to dismantle as the current crop of journalists. Because you are first a human being before you are a journalist. You are first a human being. You've got feelings. So those feelings need to come out in your reporting, in how you tell your story. Because in as much as some people follow scripts, when it comes to emotionally charged stories, human interest stories, trauma-related stories, your feelings need to come out. Because as the feelings come out in your reporting, then the person on the other side of the screen feels that passion, feels that compassion, because they become engaged in whatever you are telling them because of that compassion, because of that human element in your reporting.
That's amazing. Simphiwe, I want to ask you, and I want to avoid monotone, as the Mswati say. Some of the questions that I wanted to ask you have been asked by my colleagues here. But I do want to ask you, in your career, 20 years, very amazing. Do you have a person, one person that you feel like you really want to interview? Someone that you feel like, if I can check this box, I will be fulfilled. I know for me, there's always a list. So if it's you, for instance, just like today, this is a checklist. There's going to be someone else after this, but right now for you, who is that one person that you'd love to sit down with?
Look, I might not have a name because I've interviewed a wide array of people. I've interviewed kings, I've interviewed presidents, prime ministers, American and British celebrities, a wide array of personalities. So the person that I would love to have a sit down with right now is, in as much as I may not mention names, but is an impoverished person who does not know where he's going to sleep, who does not know where he's going to get his next meal from, but then he keeps on keeping on. He keeps on helping other people. And I know this person, I'm not going to mention names. So this person doesn't even know where he's going to sleep. But he keeps on helping other people. He is present in community meetings, helping other people with whatever he has, with the little that he has. So I would love to sit down with that person on camera to share with me what really drives you to do that. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you helping other people instead of helping yourself first? So that is a human interest story that deeply resonates with me. Because in as much as I've done all the political stories, I've done political interviews, politicians, so that is one crop of people that do not receive the mileage, do not receive, much attention, the much needed attention. So those people, I would love to have a sit down with them to tell me really what really drives you. Because people who are well off, people who are much more advantaged over them, they feel like their lives have come to an end. Some people decide to take their lives. He's got everything going well for themselves because he doesn't have the same fire that is in that person that I would love to interview.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I actually want to press a bit more on that.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that we're conditioned to be a certain way when you're in media. Stoicism, you have to be objective. It's not about you, it's about the brand.
True.
And I really think that that takes a big toll on mental health. And 20 years is a long time to be doing this because this is a very all-encompassing career.
Yeah.
How do you cater to your mental health needs, and what do you think can be done for some of us in this industry? Because I really think that corporate psychologists is something that we should be able to have access to, but unfortunately we don't.
You can never deal with mental health issues on your own. Again, in as much as broadcasting takes teamwork, your own personal life also takes a great deal of teamwork. You must engage with your superiors. If you feel the workload is just too much, engage with them, engage with the principals, no matter how difficult that conversation may be, but engage with them that you can't be pushing me to be doing so much work because my attention span is so limited. When it comes to that. And if you keep on pushing me, then it has a huge toll on my mental health. So the most important thing is have a conversation with the principals. Well, some privileged ones, they might even take you for counseling or see a mental health expert. But the most important thing is speak out. That's what we've been telling people. Speak out. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, because mental health is not just an exclusive preserve of people who are going through something. Mental health is a subject for just about everybody.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want us to touch on bribery. You know, ever since I joined the media, sorry for that. Ever since I joined the media industry, bribery has always remained a big challenge to journalists, or rather reporters, not just in Eswatini, but across Africa. So I just want to know how reporters or journalists can try to, protect their integrity, especially when they are facing financial temptations, which then ends up in suppressing a story. Yeah.
No, my biggest rule of thumb is that in as much as I do accept gifts, but then I do declare those gifts. That is a principle that I live by today. But if that gift would have to interfere with my objectivity, I do not accept it. If that gift, because angisho vele nje intention of that gift, you can just see it from a distance. You can first get it from the person that who's gifting you, and then lama intentions are uyawabona. And if that intention is to sway how you tell a story, how you frame a story, how you should report a story, or whether you should make it to the media or not, then that gift, balega. Then I do not accept that gift. But then journalists should be quite realistic with regards to their financial challenges. Because I do acknowledge, the industry is one of the underpaid industries, not just in Eswatini, even in South Africa. Even in bigger media markets like South Africa, the industry is still, we have to rally behind each other in terms of pushing for better pay. Because that can never be done by a single newsroom, a single newspaper. It takes a great deal of camaraderie throughout the entire value chain of broadcasting.
Very interesting one right there. Thank you so much for that. We will be going to a short commercial break. When we return, we're having the last bit of the conversation. So make sure that the question that you ask is truly what you wanted to hear coming to this table. But that is only when we return.
Hello and welcome back. If you've been with us, it has been such an insightful and bright conversation, spanning around media and, of course, the television industry. We've gotten a lot out of you, Simphiwe, before the break, but what I would like to know the most, because, so many of us are transitioning. I mean, for me, I went from entertainment to a television mentorship program, which was quite a skip when it comes to how I have to deliver, in terms of my presenting, my choice of words, of course. I'd just like to backtrack here. This is not about mentorship, but I just want to know how you managed to handle things when you were transitioning from being a person from Eswatini, because, we're taught to carry ourselves. And I think it's one of the most perfect traits about Mswati. We're very calm. But then you went into a high-speed environment where it's just give. How did you manage to transition into that smoothly and make sure that you deliver the way that you expected in that different environment coming from Eswatini?
The transition was made smooth because of a great team of mentors. Because I feel a responsibility to mentor young journalists today because I've been mentored myself. Because mentorship, is the backbone of sustainability in media. And another aspect or trait is training. As the media is evolving every single day. The technology in terms of how we tell stories is also evolving. There's new trends that are emerging in media. So ongoing training is a non-negotiable because we need to adapt. In as much as we need to uphold the principles of traditional media, it's important to also adapt to how the media is headed to, or to where the media is headed to. Because now there's also the issue of podcasting or digital media. And in as much as people have been saying that podcasts will replace radio, I don't believe podcasts can actually replace radio. And I can see Tabiso's nodding quite vigorously there. Yes. A podcast can never replace, because they actually complement each other. A podcast and radio complement each other. Because there's certain elements that a podcast has that radio does not have. There's certain elements that a podcast has. So the most important thing is training, upskilling and reskilling yourself to adapt to the industry trends that are changing every single day, and to ensure that you are not shallow, because some of these trends are so shallow and they make people to be shallow-minded. So it's very important to distinguish which ones that you should embrace, aligned with the traditional core principles of broadcasting.
Simphiwe, I think you are one of the few journalists who have been lucky to live in the different phases of this media ecosystem and seeing the media landscape in the kingdom as well. My question to you would be, from, how has it changed over the years from media ownership, and also we've seen emerging online media platforms as well. We've seen controversial online platforms, and you can see the friction, you can see the changes as well happening. What's your take in that regard?
It's very sad because some of the media houses, they get into wrong hands, and I'm saying this quite honestly, they get in the wrong hands in terms of some of the people wanting to push a particular narrative through the media. And there's nothing that we can do as journalists. There's nothing that we can do. Because in as much as each and every media industry or media, a broadcasting house or a media house, there's a particular agenda that they are selling. It could be a nationalist agenda. It could be an agenda of the media owners or the owners of that particular publication or media house. So what saddens me the most is when the owners of this particular media house are pushing a particular narrative or agenda to further their own interests, but not the interest of the nation. So that's what we're seeing today, and it really is getting out of control.
And I see how passionate you are about craft over optics, or cosmetics, as you coined it. I want to understand, how do you deal with an evasive or holding back guest? Because we can inherit that second-hand embarrassment of a bad interview. Right? So how do you ballroom dance with somebody that's not willing to dance with you?
Well, the most important thing, you need to make the person know that you are on camera. You are on camera. There's no way you can pull back. And yeah, in as much as it can be very difficult, to elicit a response from an evasive guest. But the most important thing is that, Guy, I need to get the facts from you. We are on camera. You are a public office bearer, and as such, you need to be held fully accountable with your feet firmly on fire, and the fire in this instance being the Constitution.
Yeah.
So the most important thing, the rule of thumb, I would tell that person that, sir, ma'am, I cannot move on to the next question without you answering this, because this borders on public funds, which you are accounting for. So I cannot move on to the next question. So the most important thing is you tell the person that you are on camera and you uphold the values of accountability.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, I am a huge consumer of American media, and I think we all are to a certain extent. And I think one thing that's been empirical in my observation is that the children over there are exposed to career guidance at a very, very early age, maybe through school newspapers, television stations, and college broadcast radio stations as well. I wish we'd be able to say the same for Africa, but we're so limited in terms of resources. But what are some of the things you would hope that institutions and governments could do to introduce that, so that we don't continue to find a group of new graduates coming from varsities like we've seen, and they just realize smack bam in the middle of this that I should not have studied this?
Yeah, you're quite right there. African societies are so under-resourced and, in some instances, understaffed. So it's quite important for us to groom our kids young. And, it's a multi-layered approach in terms of imparting some of the journalistic knowledge in our young people. We could introduce media clubs at schools. We could introduce debating clubs at schools. I know I was in one. I went to Salesian High School and we used to debate with St. Michael's. So that allowed me to think on my feet, to be in the moment, because you are facing your opponent right there, not knowing what that opponent is going to say. So at that very early age, I was able to think on my feet and understand that I'm in the moment, there's an audience here, there's an opponent here, and I have to push on. There's no way of turning back when you are in that moment. So debating clubs, I think, are quite imperative, and media clubs at schools. We could also have newsletter writing competitions, so that they are trained and imparted with the art of writing writing scripts for news and writing everything else for news. So newsletter writing would be, I think, an imperative in terms of imparting that knowledge.
Interesting. Simphiwe, you are a seasoned broadcaster who has been in the industry for a long time. And I am pretty sure that there are young people who are looking up to you. So in this day and age, many young people are at crossroads because they can't really decide on their career paths. So what practical advice can you give to them, especially those who want to pursue their careers in media, broadcasting, and other creative industries?
Quite interesting that you asked that, because I also mentor a group of students at a private communications college. Well, we have monthly sessions with them. It's called On Cue Communication. So I train them the art of broadcasting, how to have presence on air, how to write for radio, how to write for TV, because those are different skills. The first question that I ask them, why do you want to do this? The responses that I get, I just wish I could just bury my head in shame.
Yeah.
Some of the responses are, to the effect that I want to be famous, I want to be like Leanne Manas, I want to be like Iman Rapeti. And in as much as I don't judge them, I don't judge them, because it goes back to not being, being given the platform of career choices at schools. Because they don't know the importance. In as much as mina Simphiwe Ncongwane, I would feel insulted that you are coming to my class because you want to be famous.
Yeah.
As a seasoned journalist, Vela, you would be feeling offended. But then a part of me does understand these people. So the most important thing is training these people to know that journalism is not just about the optics. It takes a far more than social media glowing social media profiles and celebrity shots and everything else. Because journalism is not just a profession, it is a calling. All of us here have responded to this particular calling. So it needs to be treated with as much respect as possible.
Amazing.
All righty, thank you so much for that. I'll allow just one person who feels brave enough to ask the last question before we wrap up. And I ask my last question and then we wrap up after that. If there is something that you feel like you didn't get in, this is the time, so I know why you're looking at me like that. Is it you? You're good. You're good, Langwen.
Not really.
Okay, you can go ahead, please.
I think as a parting shot, I don't know which one to address first, but probably just to comfort you, Simphiwe, it's okay for young professionals to want to be famous at first. I always say as a sport journalist, you cannot be a sport journalist without being a fan. You need to be a fan first, and then you transition to being a sport journalist. So maybe it's okay to say, you know what, at first I wanted to be famous, but then as you grow gradually, you then realize that, there's more to this than what I had initially thought. And
absolutely, yeah. Before you move on, yeah, it's absolutely okay to be famous. But Mina, what I do is to warn people of the dangers of pushing fame and visibility and recognition before understanding the craft.
Yes.
So I'm telling them about the dangers of that, because you lack depth if you push for the cosmetic elements of media, because you don't have depth. You become shallow if you just want to be famous. So yeah, that's what I'm pushing for.
Yeah. Oh yes, and coming back to the question as a parting shot, we live in a world where seeing is no longer believing. You can see things, but you can't really tell if they are real or not. And in an era of deep fakes, in an era of AI as well, how then do we sift through the noise? Digital fatigue as well. There's a lot. How do you know what's what, which is which?
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you touched on AI, because in as much as AI does everything, AI writes scripts, it mimics voices, it edits videos, but AI can never be a human being. It can never have integrity.
Yeah.
It can never have accountability. So as journalists, it's very important that we have critical thinking. We push ourselves towards critical thinking. We ask ourselves the question, why? Why does this story matter? Why, why is it important that we tell this story? And how will the audience know, or what will they gain from telling this story? And yeah, it's very important that we push beyond the headlines. We move beyond the headlines. We push the envelope in telling that story. And yeah, it's quite tricky. It's quite tricky with AI, the evolution of AI. And I know that my voice and my face has been scammed. Some people have taken a news clip of me presenting news, and then they doctored my voice to talk about Bitcoin and everything else. And people have been scammed. So I don't know how many times we've been sending out warnings to ignore those particular clips. So it's very tricky to come to a question. It's very tricky distinguishing what is fake and what is not, because AI is very intelligent.
Wow, beautiful stuff. And just my last parting question, which is obviously the infamous parting question, about legacy. What legacy do you hope to leave behind? I think most importantly for our community here in Eswatini, because you've already worked on your part in our neighboring country, but for the young people of Eswatini, for the media industry of Eswatini, what legacy do you hope to leave behind when they look at Simphiwe Ncongwane in the next 20 other years? What are you hoping they learn from you, and just the change makers that are upcoming here in the Kingdom of Eswatini?
To the younger person who looks up to me, I would tell them that do not rush to be seen, do not rush to be heard. Instead, rush to be good. You don't have to rush, for all the frugalities of life. The most important thing, And it is a concept that I've embodied today. You need to slow down enough to be able to dig deeper roots. And those deeper roots will allow you to grow much taller.
Yeah.
So that is a legacy that I want to live, because Mina, I've been able to slow down because some of the mistakes that I've been telling her about, I've been rushing for the big interviews, I've been rushing for the primetime slots without actually focusing on the depth and the growth of my career. So now that I've slowed down, I've grasped the intricacies of this journalism career, and I've grown quite immensely. And I've grown in depth. I've grown in terms of just about everything, man, in terms of influence. So the most important thing that I would tell the people in terms of my legacy is that take it slow, adapt, learn the craft, understand the craft, respect the craft, and then the whole world will love you back.
I think there's nothing else I can say after that. That was definitely, some great parting words. I'd like to now officially thank you all for coming here to the platform and, helping me deliver Simphiwe Ncongwane to the rest of our country. And to you, our champion, thank you so much for honoring our invitation and traveling far and wide to make it here. Signing off leave just to be here is definitely a great deal for us. We can never thank you enough for giving us this opportunity, to shine the light on the young Mswati that are still upcoming. To the change makers, see you on the big stages in the next 10, 20 years as well. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I've learned a great deal from this session, in as much as it was just about sharing my journey, my life, but I've learned so much from your questions, from your interactions, and from your experiences. And I guess that's what mentorship is all about. You give, you get.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. I've been giving and I've been getting. And I'm leaving this room a changed person from what you've been telling me, from what you've been asking me, and the kind of experiences that you've been sharing with me. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how we wrap up tonight's show. It was definitely, beneficial to us here on the table, but we can only hope it landed in the same energy to you at home. Please remember to join us next week as we continue delivering high-profile individuals from the Kingdom of Eswatini. And now I can safely say outside of the Kingdom of Eswatini. But from myself, Pelo Nkosi, and the rest of the team, it has been such a beautiful episode. But for now, it is good night and God bless.